Hello and welcome back to another Stories of Northern Life podcast. Today we are going to go back to nature and explore a bit of the history of Bellevue Park. Bellevue Park is Sault Ste. Marie's main passive park. It is 17 acres in size and offers a large playground area, 2.4 kilometers of asphalt walkway, multiple floral beds, and a display greenhouse that is open to the general public. Some features of the park have changed over the years, but the park still holds a special place in every Sault's heart, no matter what generation you belong to. For me, my favorite memory was feeding the ducks in the park every time we had stale bread at home. For your information, please do not do this anymore. It is terrible for the ducks. But for my mother, it was performing with the McLeod Highland Dance Studio on July 1st every year. And for my nono, it was taking pictures and climbing trees with his young son. But let's start at the beginning. On November 3rd, 1911, the municipality purchased 30 acres of land from the Bellevue estate for $7,500. On May 3rd, 1912, the property was officially named Bellevue Park. Then the park took a turn. It was sold to a dry dock and shipbuilding plant for $25,000 just a year later. Though the plant was clearly never built, it wasn't until 1922 that the park was re-obtained by the city. In 1925, there was a camping area built for tourists to stay. In 1960, the ability to camp on the site was removed. And a few years later, starting in 1927, the animal pens were introduced and continued to expand until 1942. They were later removed in 1997. The animals included bears, buffaloes, beavers, deer, donkey, goats, peacocks, otters, and so much more. Bellevue was actually the only zoo in Canada to have a pack of wolves at one point. The first greenhouse was built in 1928, and the second came along in 1939, both of which are still in use today. In the 50s throughout to the 70s, there was a wading pool with a sprinkler in the middle. There was a white lighthouse on Topsail Island and an old steamboat beside it. In 1982, the bandshell concession and washrooms were built. This was a well-used community stage. On July 1st every year, they held the Treasures of Our People show by the Folk Art Society. The performances were held before the fireworks, which were on the barges by Bellevue. Ukrainian, Estonian, Italian, Indigenous, Polish, Scottish country, and the McLeod Highland Dance Studio, belly dancers, rhythmic gymnasts, and even Trixie Hardy dancers were in attendance. They brought in different groups throughout the years, but you can always count on that whole area of the park being packed with families in different groups. There was actually another bandshell on the other side of the park as well, that was around much earlier, and was home to many bands and artists who performed there too. Bellevue Marina Park began construction in 1979, and in 1985 there was an expansion of ships in the marina and a concession stand was opened in 1996. Now you can launch your canoe or kayaks from an accessible boat launch located on Bellevue Marina, making it easier for you to get in the water and explore the river. The park has 7 different playground structures for kids to play on. The playgrounds just keep expanding every few years, and the latest expansion included the sensory playground and a water splash pad. Have you ever wondered about the grave on the island of Bellevue Park? It's been there since before the start of the park and stayed there throughout its history. It marks the spot of Colonel John Prince, which was the first district judge of Algoma, and an interesting public figure in Sault Ste. Marie history. When John Prince moved to Sault Ste. Marie in 1860, he found a beautiful spot just outside of the city to build his home. He called it Bellevue, meaning beautiful view. This land later became Bellevue Park, which we know and love. Ironically, John Prince chose this location to escape the city and people. Now he is greeted by hundreds of people each and every day. Fun fact, the Sault Museum has the original tombstone on display, while a replica marks his spot in the park today. Stop by the museum to check out and learn more about this colorful character. I am also working on a full episode of John Prince in the near future, so stay tuned for that. Another generational piece that has been in the park for over 40 years is the train. Quick trivia question. Do you know the name of the beloved train in Bellevue Park? The name Porter was respectfully given to the train in tribute of H.K. Porter Company, the company who built it. This locally famous industrial train, also known as Engine 10, can be found on the north side of the park. It was one of 2 trains purchased by the Algoma Steel Corporation about 80 years ago, in 1943. The iconic 48,000-pound locomotive was once used in its prime to build the Algoma Steel Corporation No. 5 blast furnace, and was later used as a shuttle to move coke cars to Algoma's numerous blast furnaces. Once the train was taken out of service, it was donated to the park in 1967 as the Centennial Project, and it became a popular addition to Bellevue Park's playground for all those years. It is actually the last of 2 believed to exist in Canada, and believe it or not, ours is in the better shape. So, in spirit of Earth Day, which is the day after this podcast is released in 2022, I challenge you to visit your local Bellevue Park and enjoy its history. Try to imagine the concerts and festivals, the zoo filled with different animals, and the lighthouse at the end of Topsail Island, while enjoying the constants throughout the years, John Prince's grave, the generations-old trees, and the geese, of course. Even in July 1959, the Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip visited the park. So why can't you? Thank you for listening to another podcast of the Stories of Northern Life by the Sault Ste. Marie Museum. I hope to see you soon. Come visit us at the Sault Museum, or just come back and listen to another podcast every Thursday on all your favorite streaming platforms. Thanks again. See you later. Bye-bye.